afternoon, everyone, and welcome to What the Why. If you haven't seen us before, our show features conversations with diverse leaders from all walks of life about why they do what they do and how they figured things out. Maybe you happen to feel sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, or maybe you've been feeling stuck and you want to get unstuck, whether it's in your career, your personal life, your job, your school. Whatever the case, one of the things that all of our guests have in common with you is at some point they felt similarly and they decided to make a pivot. And many of them actually work with people who've decided to make those types of pivots. And today's guest is no exception. Joining us today from California is Tom Drucker. He's the founder and president of Consultants in Corporate Innovation. Tom is a recognized expert, and let me underscore, nationally recognized expert in leadership development and successful large-scale organizational changes. And he specializes in psychological safety. His mission is to assist people in finding passion, purpose, and meaning in their work, consequently removing fear from the workplace. Fear does not belong in the workplace. Clinical psychology was Tom's first career, which he began in graduate school at UCLA. He built a successful practice. Then he transferred his PhD studies to Anderson Business School at UCLA to study behavioral science with their world-famous faculty. While there, he was asked by the dean to help turn around a Xerox computer company acquisition. The chairman of Xerox hired Tom shortly thereafter, and he spent 15 remarkable years there, reporting to then Xerox's chairman, C. Peter McCullough. While there, he led a global division, introducing the Xerox Digital Office to 220,000 employees. And there's more to that story. After 15 years at Xerox, Tom decided to leave and start his own consulting firm, Consultants in Corporate Innovation. He and his partners helped AT&T retrain thousands of human resource professionals to become business partners instead of administrators. Other assignments included a cultural change via leadership development for the VCA chain of veterinary hospitals and assisting global public companies, including, not to do some name dropping here, Google, the Ford Foundation, GE, aka General Electric, and Apple. Inc. magazine asked him to go on a speaking tour to promote finding joy at work. The title of his talk was Work Not Need, excuse me, because I want to make sure I get this right, because it's a title. So the title of his talk was Work Need Not Be a Nasty Four-Letter Word. When functional MRIs began to reveal how our brains work, Tom began the study of neuroscience. His studies and practical use of this research led the Trium Group to make Tom a strategic partner, where he applied his neuroscience and clinical skills, plus his C-suite experience in helping large companies and startups. He did move on from this position in 2020 to focus full-time on his company's client engagements. Tom is also known for helping families and privately held companies grow and then sell, as well as coaching startups to grow into sustainable companies. His international client testimonials are incomparable. So without further ado, please welcome Tom Drucker to our show. Okay. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you for that kind introduction.
Oh, thank you. And that was an abbreviated version of it for those who haven't seen anything about him online, which you are more than welcome to do after the show. Go Google him and take a look at him on LinkedIn and social media. So, as you know, as I did share, all of our guests get one particular question right out of the gate. After I've read through all of these amazing things that you have all done that have led you to this point, I don't imagine that this is what you saw yourself doing when you were, a little boy, whether you went by Tom or Tommy. So, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
When I was small, I thought I wanted to be an architect, which appeals to my sense of design and structure. And then it was actually in high school where I was acting. to get out of the house. It was fun. And I knew I would never do that professionally because there was no positive correlation between talent and success. I grew up in LA, so I had a lot of examples around me, and I acted with some people. We called him Ricky Dreyfuss at the time, but Richard Dreyfuss and people like that. And it was just clear to me I needed to do something else. My father owned a small business, employed some people, but I wasn't interested in wholesale furniture. So I began to kind of examine what I could do. And I remember being in a situation where an older person asked me for advice about his teenage son. And I was able to give him some thoughts, and he was extremely grateful. And it just hit me. I could actually do this professionally. And that really started my interest in psychology. It led me to go to Vienna, Austria to study with Viktor Frankl, the author of Man's Search for Meaning, a really pivotal book of the 20th century.
Yeah.
The subtitle is From Death Camp to Existentialism. He was in 4 concentration camps, including Auschwitz, and determined that we can't, plan our circumstances. What we can do is plan our reaction to our circumstances. Mm-hmm. We have control over that. And as you mentioned, when the study of the brain became very accessible, I leaped into that, and that again gave me a kind of epiphany that I could accelerate my impact on the leaders and teams that I work with by teaching them, much like stroke victims recover capacities, by practicing and creating new neural networks, that I can help leaders create new habits that will help them thrive and be very successful, make more money, and with less stress.
Wow.
So I've had 2 or 3 kind of epiphanies in the arc of my career to get me where I am today. I hope that answers your question.
That does answer my question, including my next question, which is usually, and how did it lead you here? And no, that's really great. So you mentioned brain science. Why? You talked a little bit about the why, but if you could go in a little bit more detail about why you use brain science with your clients and teams. This is, we're hearing more and more about neuroscience and brain science and both in all forms of health.
I'd be happy to. The brain really controls a great deal of our reactions to the world around us. And if you want to look at it as kind of 2 buckets, we're either in a state of kind of almost anxiety, waiting for something to happen or on guard that something will happen, or we're really relaxed, we're able to collaborate and think creatively and use our logical reasoning capability as well as our intuition to really thrive. And what the study of the brain revealed is that we can choose. And through practice, we can actually move from a place of fear and anxiety to a place of calm creativity and approach issues in a much more successful way. So one of the things that distinguishes me from other coaches and other leadership professionals is this integration of the way our brain works to help leaders be more proactive, more creative, and less stressed. Mm-hmm. Wow. And I hope that that speaks to the underlying science behind how I can help leaders even more effectively create psychological safety for themselves and for the people around them, because it's important for people to feel safe. Yeah. In order for people to be maximally productive. Mm-hmm.
I know at one point in my life, for reasons that I've talked about on some of the past shows myself, the statistic at the time was about 70% of workplace injuries, and this was physical injuries, were because of employee violence. And now We're seeing more acknowledgement of things like workplace bullying, the mental stresses around
Yeah.
that. Even newer employees are requesting things that address that.
Well, there's one thing that's really, really important, and I encourage everyone to sort of use this as a model, that in any circumstance, there's the relationship that you have with a person or a group of people, and then there's the task, the issue, the problem, the challenge. And what's really important is to keep those separate. So there's a way to make people feel safe and supported in their relationship with you, because relationships really are the foundation to accomplish anything in life.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, I see that. And then by making sure the relationship is strong, you can say, well, let's dig into this problem together. You may have one set of assumptions. I may have slightly different ones. Let's put them on the table and talk about them. And, you know, we may have conflicts or differences of opinions, but that's not going to affect our relationship.
All right.
Now, I'm saying it more explicitly, but you'd be surprised just how being explicit about, hey, we're on the same team, but let's put the problem over here. Hand gestures help, by the way, because we have a tendency to conflate when, particularly in a potentially conflictual situation, the relationship with the issue. And that really is the start of feeling unsafe psychologically.
Yeah. So, believe it or not, it's already time for our mid-show commercial break. So, everyone who's watching, please stay tuned and return after the commercial break for more with Tom Drucker, today's guest on What the Why. Welcome back to What the Why with Barbara Ann and our guest today, Tom Drucker, who is founder and president of Consultants in Innovation, a recognized expert in leadership development and successful large-scale organizational changes, who also specializes in psychological safety. And right before the break, we were talking with Tom, and he was explaining to us about, you know, it's some of the things that aren't necessarily complicated, but need to be stated explicitly in order for leaders to really understand how to build an environment that includes psychological safety. So you've worked with so many companies on a large scale. I mean, it really was like name dropping, just mentioning some of them.
Well, I can give you an example from a very small company
please.
too. That may be illustrative of how important psychological safety is. This is a firm that has about 40 people, and most of them work remotely, even before the pandemic. And they do very meticulous work for their customers and their clients. And one of the things that happened during the pandemic, of course, is that people were feeling anxious. So one of the important things the leaders did that I was working with is they had all hand meetings. And at each meeting, they asked how people were doing. Because when you ask and people feel safe enough to tell you they feel anxious or what they may need in order to do their job better under these circumstances, you know, like noise canceling headphones was a big one because a lot of people had children at home. So the takeaways here are in any size company, people work in teams because there's processes that they have to execute. And those people need to feel that they can raise mistakes, they can suggest new ways of doing things. And in order to do that, like the old Maslow hierarchy of needs, they need to have a sense of safety and security, and then relationships before they can really begin to be creative. And so what this company did is every week in a very short all hands meeting, it was really important for them to keep asking what people needed, to keep expressing their commitment to keep people safe, to give them the time off if they needed to go to doctor appointments or to help their children with school. They became intentionally flexible. And the results were that their productivity went up. Whereas other clients, unfortunately, during the pandemic, the productivity went down.
Yep.
Because of fear really making people less creative, less productive, more internally focused. So that's one example that's really in a relatively small company. Another example is a law firm. Obviously, during the pandemic, they had difficulties. Certainly, they couldn't go to court like they used to, but
Right.
the lawyers that were dealing with transactions wanted to get those done. And they had to help their clients. So what my role was to help the attorneys help their clients feel calm enough to go through the transactions that were teed up. And again, one of the things that's important in creating psychological safety is the sense of partnership. That, I really want this to work for you, so to speak.
Yeah.
And empathy. I can feel your enthusiasm or I can hear your concerns. Either way. And acknowledgement. You want to tell people you've clearly thought a lot about this and put a lot of work into it. And respect. You want to make sure people feel that you have respect for who they are as a person and who they are as a professional.
Yeah.
And also giving them the kind of support they need, telling them, I want you to be successful. I want this project to be successful. So there are many things that people can do intentionally that will help create a sense of psychological safety for themselves and then for the people that they work with.
Yeah.
Because psychological safety, just like fear, is contagious.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that because, and it does, and what you're describing are things that don't take money. They take
Right.
empathy and choices. And, you see it online all the time. People don't leave, jobs. They leave bad bosses or leaders.
Right.
And, these are things that have demonstrated returns on investment too. Like you said, just giving people the flexibility, trusting them and believing that they're going to do the job, even if they need some flexibility here or there to deal with a barking dog or a crying child or whatever, really demonstrates value in them, but takes very little effort on the part of a company to allow for, as opposed to that old standard of, oh my gosh, if you're 15 minutes late, I'm going to dock your pay. Kind of thing, and without even understanding why that person was late.
You want to treat people, it's sort of a reverse of the golden rule. You want to treat people like they want to be treated.
Yes.
You want to...
The platinum rule, I've heard it called.
The other person. And, that's a learnable response. When the leaders think about the end result, they'll find that the carrot is much more effective than the stick.
Absolutely.
And that's just human nature.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, people in a position of power often forget that. Feel the need to control rather than support. They feel the need to be directive rather than help the other person become stronger and learn by asking questions and suggesting different ways of approaching things, and let the leader be a coach. And you do this to develop those people, which are often pretty much universally your most important assets. And this kind of leadership can be learned, and it is enormously valuable in the bottom line. People tend not to leave, as you said, organizations to treat them with respect and dignity and make them feel safe. People feel positive relationships with the people they quote report to. They feel more like colleagues. Of course there are controls, and of course there are certain boundaries in any organization. And those typically are the processes. So the relationship can also be separated from the process or the work. And by focusing on those relationships and making them a foundation for doing excellent work is really the secret sauce, including being able to have respectful disagreements, because that's how innovation occurs,
Yeah.
through the kind of banging together of different ideas to come up with a third way or a fourth idea. You know, we, as human beings, we're social creatures. And when we connect with each other in constructive ways, amazing things happen. And that's how companies are able to innovate and learn together. You know, the companies that learn the fastest and apply what they're learning will always beat out their competition in the marketplace.
Yeah.
That's been well researched.
Yeah. And
That's
that
news.
really is, believe it or not, we're at time. And your passion about this is palpable. So, you know, it really helps, you know, understanding, you know, it's like, well, why did you go into this route? Well, you can feel it when you talk about it. And so we'll have to have you come back on and talk some more about some of the other things, because what you were talking about in terms of company success, that's at the largest sizes that you've worked with, and the small entrepreneurs when they're starting out as well. Their success is significantly stronger when they move forward with purpose like this. So if somebody wants to reach out to you, I mentioned, you know, you're on LinkedIn and you're on Google and things like that. What's the best way for people to contact you?
Well, I'll give you a real short one. cci2@me.com.
Okay.
Cat intelligent, the letter 2 at me.com. It's my MAC address, and that's easy to remember. And of course, Tom Drucker on LinkedIn, Consultants in Corporate Innovation on Facebook. And I'm happy to talk to anyone without charge to understand what they want and what they need, because I'm committed to being of service to people, and that's really my commitment. So I welcome anyone to reach out and want to talk further about this. I'd be happy to have conversations with you.
Awesome. So one more time with the website so that they don't have to hit the rewind button.
CCI2.
CCI2.
CCI2 at mac.com.
Okay.
Or at me.com. I like me. CCI2 at me.com. It's easy to remember.
And when in doubt,
And CCI stands for Consultants in Corporate Innovation, and I was the second one to grab that.
okay. And when in doubt, they can also Google you, because you're definitely able to be found out there. So
Yes.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and zooming in all the way from California to join us and share with us. And hopefully there's a lot of entrepreneurs and companies out there that, with people who are watching, that will reach out to you, and others that may want to follow in your path. As for future episodes, we are wrapping up 2022, so we've got some really great guests as we finish up the year. One of them is Sulaya Picarelli, Executive Liaison to the Latino Behavioral Health Coalition in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She's also a performing artist, actor, and public media relations entrepreneur. We're also going to welcome back Lisa Hillerin, experienced certified corporate trainer, author, and owner of Lisa Hillerin LLC, who was my first ever guest on What the Why. So she's coming back with some updates. We'll then kick off the new year with more exciting guests, including the return of Tanur She Writes Ali, the founder of Residential Land Steward for iLogic Sustainable Industries and wearer of many hats. She's going to come back for part 2 of a conversation, and we're also going to be joined by someone Tom knows, Belle Walker, founder and lead consultant of Bellevue Consulting, and of course many more. Please believe me when I say you don't want to miss what any of our upcoming guests have to say about their journeys and what they're doing in their lives. As a reminder, What the Why airs on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time and Mondays at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's also available on demand through rvntelevision.com and Roku, and coming soon in 2023 to additional platforms. Remember, whether you're looking to make changes in your life or career or job, no matter how big or small. Please join us again for more transformational, inspirational, and informative and educational conversations with leaders such as Tom Drucker, who made pivots in their life, or multiple epiphanies as he put it, overcame whatever obstacles or challenges might have been in their path to find their purpose and live it.